So, I don't know about you, but I've always thought that Polaroid TVs were really crap, and I never thought I'd actually buy one, but I actually thought I would do this video because I thought it'd be useful for other people to know that actually the Polaroid TV isn't actually as bad as it sounds. And actually ended up buying one when I was in Asda, looking for a new TV for my bedroom. And so I didn't know what to expect because for a start, it didn't say on the box that it actually supported YouTube. So it was a smart TV with a DVD player, but it didn't actually tell you that it supports YouTube on the box, as in a smart TV app on the actual unit itself. So it was a bit of a gamble because no one in Asda knows about these things, so you can't really ask them. So on the actual remote, when I got it home, you can see it actually has a YouTube button. So I was quite pleasantly surprised that not only does it have YouTube, but you also have like one of those shortcut buttons. And the last TV I bought was probably about 5 years ago now. So, and that was actually a plasma TV. So you can imagine I haven't even, to get my smart TV on my main TV, I have an Apple TV, which is old as well, which plugs in, and that just makes it into a smart TV. But I haven't actually had a smart TV, so this was the first smart TV I've had. So the cheap smart TV is actually turned out to be quite good because for a number of reasons. And the first one that I noticed was when I actually turned it on, when I set it up and turned it on in the first place. From what I know of really cheap TVs, they take forever to actually come on in the first place. So I was pleasantly surprised when I actually turned the thing on to begin with, that it didn't take forever to actually turn on in the first place. So you see, that's just a couple of seconds. So that was a nice surprise. The second surprise was how easy it was to sort of set up, because it was really, really super easy to set up. And I think I set it up in probably less than 2 minutes. It was set up. About the most complicated part of it was typing in the Wi-Fi password for the internet, connect it to the network. So that was a really nice surprise. And then once I did get it set up and started using it, it was actually I was pleasantly surprised by the actual picture quality as well, because you can't really see very well on the video, but it does actually have a really nice, bright, clear picture, and I was quite pleasantly surprised. And even without any adjustment on the on the settings, the sort of standard sort of settings that it does have are quite kind of nice and well balanced, and without being too bright. Because I've noticed on some TVs, the screen is just too bright, and I just don't like that super bright, almost a light shining at you from the TV. This is kind of quite well balanced, and it's not a great picture quality, it's not perfect, but for a TV that costs like less than £200, it is really pretty good. The next thing that I was surprised about by this TV was the actual sound quality. So normally, again, with cheap TVs, you expect it to have really crappy sound quality because the speakers are really tiny and they're usually low quality speakers. But with this, I was quite pleasantly surprised. It does have a JBL. It has JBL speakers, which I don't know if you know about. Anyone who knows about sort of speakers, well, the JBL is not an amazing make, but it's probably one of the better brands for headphones. And so the speakers in this are made by JBL, so they're actually really, really good. So you can use it as like for playing music videos or whatever you want, like in in as a sort of second TV without needing sort of speakers to sort of connect like a Bluetooth speaker or Bluetooth soundbar to it. So they're quite good, and even on the sort of half volume, it's pretty damn loud. And that's just half volume. Life can feel like a red light screaming out. And that's just sort of half volume. I think you'd probably definitely wake the neighbours up if it turned it all the way up. So that's really adequate, and it's quite a nice clear sound as well. The other thing that I quite liked about it was the remote control. It's quite, even though again it's a cheap TV, and even though the remote kind of feels quite cheap, it feels like it's made out of plastic that's quite cheap. The actual buttons on it have quite a nice sort of squishy, rubbery feel to them, which is quite nice to press when you're sort of searching for something on YouTube, pressing the menu buttons and going side to side, or pressing the skip buttons. It also has these skip buttons for YouTube, so you can sort of skip through videos, which is quite useful. And you can also play and pause your YouTube videos with that button there. So the remote is quite nicely laid out. It's really super light, and the actual layout is quite nice because your hand kind of falls quite naturally to the menu buttons, so you can use those with your thumb. And then the actual sort of shortcut keys to the different apps, they're really easily accessible with your thumb as well. You've got one for Netflix and one for YouTube. This is the new model, which I haven't seen a review for on YouTube at all. This is the one from Asda, which is 2021 sort of model, and it has the built-in DVD player, which I know no one really uses DVDs anymore and hardly anyone watches them. But I actually dug out a bunch of old DVDs that I had from years ago. That's a CD one. No. These are old. A lot of them are kind of blank DVDs that I made into DVDs back in the day when you could do that kind of thing. But yeah, these DVDs are actually some of my favourite movies, and so it's been kind of fun to actually just kind of dig them out and kind of go through them and just kind of revisit some of them. And the DVD player is actually pretty good too. You would never really know it's there because obviously it's built into the TV. So, and these buttons, it just has two buttons. It has the eject button for taking the DVD out, and it's got the play and pause, and they are actually the only two buttons on the entire TV, which is quite unusual. There isn't even a power on off button on this TV, so you have to use the remote to turn it on and off. So yeah, it only has the two DVD buttons, and neither of them work until you actually go into the DVD. Midway through demonstrating this TV in this review, I've actually demonstrated a point which is often the case with cheap TVs, and this one's no exception. It's crashed. So you can't do anything with the remote, it won't do anything, doesn't matter what button you press, nothing works. So yeah, there you go. It's a cheap TV in some respects, such as this, but I mean there's a simple fix. You just turn it off. You should just be able to turn it off. He says no, and that doesn't fix it. So no, it's even more of a cheap TV than I thought in that respect. So when you try and turn it, even the power button doesn't do anything on the remote. So because this TV doesn't have a power button anywhere on it, the only solution is to actually go and turn this off from the wall, do the old on-off trick, and then power it back on, and then we should get something now. Is it completely dead? Oh, there we go. It's coming back on now. So yeah, that's a nice little demonstration of the difference between a super cheap TV and a TV which costs double the price, which generally won't do that. But to be fair to this TV, it doesn't often do that. It hasn't done that before. Only during this review has it ever actually done that. So that's the first time it's actually done that. So I can let it off a little bit for that. But I think generally with this, I think the good points outweigh the bad, and it's actually quite nicely designed. Even though for a cheap TV it's quite nicely designed, because the actual DVD player kind of sticks out here at the back, you actually have a space here for stuffing your like mains cables. If you don't have a plug in the wall like I don't, you can just kind of stuff your mains cables behind there and then run this along the wall. It doesn't look too messy and you can't see the cables. So I actually have the plug socket stuck behind here and you wouldn't know unless you look from the side. And also on the other thing that's quite nicely designed on this TV is you have the HDMI on the left hand side, sorry, and you have two USBs as well. So you can plug your games console or whatever it is that you were running from HDMI can go into the side, whereas a lot of even more expensive TVs they have the HDMI's on the back, or on the bottom, so it's really sort of inconvenient to actually get to. So I was surprised by that too. And the final thing to say about this is that the DVD is quite decent on it. It does work quite well, and it's quite nice to be able to sort of play your old DVDs on there that you just remembered from being a kid, like you never just completely forgot about, like School of Rock, which is maybe not quite a legitimate copy, but let's see if it works anyway. Nope. So yeah, it's gone for some reason to the setup menu, but that's played. It plays automatically when you put the DVD in, if you haven't got the tuning menu up, which I did then, which it automatically goes to when you power off and on. So it's just a pretty bog standard DVD player, the old school DVD player, but without the wires. And like I say, it's just nice to have the option if you've got any old DVDs sort of lying around your house. It's nice to have the option of just stick that in, and just revisit some of your old favourites, that you'd forgotten all about. So that works quite well. And again, the picture quality is okay, and the sound quality is okay, and it doesn't lag too much. So when you put your DVD in, it does more or less. It does start up straight away. So then it's almost as though they've kind of, even though DVD technology is so old, it's almost as though it's kind of caught up to a point where it's much quicker than it used to be. Because I don't know about you, but I remember the days when the old DVD players, you'd have to wait an age for them to actually start up. You put your DVD in, and it'd whir and it'd buzz and it'd do all sorts of things, and it'd take about 2 minutes before it actually booted up the DVD. But now they're much quicker. So yeah, it's nice to have that. And the other thing about this is you can actually you can put a USB in, and you can a blank USB, and you can use it as a PVR, personal video recorder. So you can record stuff off live TV and save it. So it's kind of like, in the UK we have a thing called Sky Plus, which a lot of the older generation tend to use. It's like what they used to, and you know, they can record things on it and save to the TV guide, and then they can sort of select what they want to watch. But with this, you can turn it into that by just putting in a little DVD, a little USB stick in, and then you can record on it. I haven't actually tried that feature, but it does actually have that, and again, for a cheap TV, it's actually not bad. And I think that is about it with this TV. But of course, we've got the sort of Freeview sort of channels, the normal sort of old-fashioned TV channels. But mainly nowadays, all we care about is the apps that you've got. So you've got Netflix. We don't really care about them. We've got YouTube. We've got Prime Video, and that's all most people really need. And so you've got quick links to them down at the bottom on that menu button, and that's about it. So all in all, I would say this is, if you can live with the occasional sort of crash, which is to be expected when something is so cheap, which, to be fair, that's only happened that one time in the whole, say, I've probably had it about a month. That's only happened once. So if you could live with that, the actual pitch quality, the sound quality is good, the responsiveness of the remote is good, it's a nice design, it doesn't look as cheap as it is, it looks, apart from the fact it says Polaroid on the front, but yeah, it's actually, I don't regret buying it, and I would actually recommend it to anyone, especially for a second TV in your bedroom.